Amanda with StraightSmile Solutions, StraightSmileSolutions.com, and today we're going to talk a little bit more about using the Bolton feature within your Invisalign account. And as far as I know, I don't think any other aligner company has this feature. They might, but if they do, I don't know where it is. So if you know that your other aligner company has it, definitely send me a screenshot. Show me where it is. I'd like to know. All right, so this is how, first of all, you have to find it. So if you're using a giant desktop like I am, it's at the top in the tabs towards the right. If you're using an iPad or a smaller desktop, it kind of consolidates things. So usually the Bolton, B-O-L-T-O-N, spelled like this, is hidden under some of the other tabs, sub-tabs. So you're gonna have to go find it, okay? This is like the first thing that assuming my patient has all its teeth, okay, 7 to 7, second molar to second molar, no baby teeth, no missing teeth, you can use this feature. If you're missing teeth, can't use this feature. So it's one of the first things I look at, especially in a class 1 patient, because it tells me if IPR is going to be necessary for tooth size discrepancy. I'm not saying necessary for crowding or anything like that, but theoretically, if your teeth are the right size, top and bottom, they should fit together like cogs on a wheel. But not all of us are symmetrical. You know, sometimes we'll have one lateral that's bigger than the other lateral, or one small lateral. So if you have a peg, it's usually the laterals or the premolars that are slightly off size, which can make the fitting together not ideal. So, and sometimes that's okay. You know, you can just have a tiny bit of overjet or it's like midline deficiency, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that as long as the patient's okay with it. But sometimes it's not. And let's talk about where the scenarios where it's not and what to do about it. So when you click that Bolton feature, you're going to get 2 numbers. If you see 0, 0 or stars, it just means that you're missing a tooth, and so they couldn't calculate it. Or if you didn't fully capture a tooth, like in an impression, if you missed half of a tooth, it's not going to be able to calculate. So another reason why it's important to be accurate. You're going to see this 3 to 3 number and a 6 to 6 number, and this is what gets confusing, especially for general dentists. They don't understand how to use this table. First of all, never ever look at the 3 to 3 numbers. They're irrelevant. Why? Because 3 to 3 means canine to canine. You're not doing canine to canine aligners only. You know, like 6 Month Smiles and some other companies, they do anterior alignment only, so they're only factoring that. So that's what that would be for. But I'm hoping you're not doing anterior alignment because I believe it's subpar treatment, you know, unless the patient has specifically requested it. But why? You know, it just doesn't make any sense to me. The results never look good. So ignore the left buttons, only look at the right sides. And these are 3 separate patients, and these are the numbers taken from ClinChecks. So look at the right ones, which is 6 to 6, which means molar to molar. Okay, so it's almost nobody is 0. I think I've seen a 0 once in my life. I mean, I check these all the time. But if it says maxillary excess versus mandibular excess, there's 2 different things: maxillary excess, mandibular excess, mandibular excess. Okay, a maxillary excess means that the teeth on the top are slightly bigger than they should be. Okay, a mandibular excess means teeth on the bottom are slightly bigger than they should be. What's the difference? Well, if the teeth on the top are slightly bigger than they should be, so what? That just means you might have a tiny bit of overjet, but the canines will be class 1. So if the patient didn't like the excess overjet, you could always add a little IPR on top, optional. Don't have to do anything for maxillary excess. For mandibular excess, you do have to do something. That's why you want to know the difference. You would, if you didn't do something, you will have anterior collisions and or an anterior edge-to-edge occlusion and or an anterior crossbite, depending on the severity. A 0.23 mandibular excess isn't going to really be a huge deal. It just means that you might have light occlusion on the anterior teeth. Not something I particularly love because of fremitus and other stuff and wear. So I'll usually add just a sliver of IPR to the lower to avoid this, so I can get it at 0. This would actually be a fair amount of overjet. You'd be in canine class 1, but a fair amount of overjet, probably about 2 millimeters on the anterior teeth only. Might not be a big deal, might be a big deal. Certainly if it was 1 millimeter, I wouldn't do anything. 3, I might give the patient an option to add IPR. Optional, patient gets to decide. This one, tiny bit of IPR on the lower. No way around it. The only way around it is that you can leave a tiny bit of space on the top, either distal to 7 and 10, upper 2s. Some people hide it behind the canines. I think that's ugly. 99 times out of 100, unless the patient has like a giant deficiency, they are going to prefer to have you add IPR. So certainly if it's any more than, I would say, 2 to 3 millimeters of mandibular excess, then usually the patient just wants IPR because that's pretty easy to add a little IPR. If it's 6 millimeters of mandibular excess, that's severe. We can't add that much IPR. That's impossible to add that much IPR on the lower. if you theoretically added the maximum amount of IPR to all the bottom teeth from second molar to second molar, I'm saying like insane amounts of IPR, patient could get sensitive, taking away good enamel. I mean, that would take me, I can't imagine, that would probably take me hours in the chair. It's not even worth my time. I won't even do it. Let's put it that way. If the patient is requesting a ridiculous amount of IPR that I think is unhealthy and would just take me a ridiculous amount of chair time, it would make me very nervous. Also, anytime you do that much IPR, it is not even going to be predictable. So in this situation, there's no choice. Patient either gets veneers on 7 and 10 or veneers on 7 through 10. So, 4 top veneers or just 2 veneers, depending on how we do the virtual wax up, or patient gets a lower incisor taken out. One or the other. We don't do IPR. It's too much. So for me, the magic number is about 3 to 4 millimeters. Beyond that, I'm not doing the IPR. So that's just kind of how my brain thinks. So I have the ability to look at a case and see a moderate to severe Bolton. I'm going to be able to see straight off. That's just because my eyes are trained, okay? And in time, you'll be able to do that too. But if you're just getting started out or you haven't done thousands of cases like I have, tens of thousands of cases like I have, you're not going to be able to see that. So don't bother trying to train your eyes. Just click this Bolton number and it'll tell you something. And that way you can explain to the patient right off the bat the options. You don't want to be surprised later. And sometimes, I'm just going to say sometimes, I find that Invisalign screws up. Like I'll see that, for example, there's a 3.61 millimeter maxillary excess, but yet they put in lower IPR again, and the patient's class 1. If the patient was class 3, okay, that makes sense. Patient's class 1, we've got this. Lower IPR makes 0 sense unless we were trying to avoid proclining teeth or something like that. We had some type of restriction on our stuff. So I'm like, whoa, pump the brakes. And I tell the techs, hey, exactly like this. I see that there's a maxillary excess Bolton of 3.61 millimeters. Why are you adding lower IPR? There's no reason, AKA patient is class 1. I'm okay with you proclining the incisors. And then they backtrack and they fix it. So I feel like sometimes they make mistakes, and this helps you make sure that your treatment plan is accurate. Okay, never fully trust a computer. So you need to understand the why behind things. So anyways, that's how the Bolton tab works. Use it, don't abuse it, have fun with it. All right, thanks.